Alright, so now that we've got the boss working, we're going to work on setting up a shop to use gems and things like that that we have kicking around, right? So first off, I'm just going to drag over here to where a little further, grab my start location, move it down here, get us into a location. I'll go to our pickups. I've got a few different pickup gems, but I'm mainly just going to use the red gem since that gives me, I have it set to like 50 for value. There we go. Alright, and then may as well throw in a couple green and blue just so you can see those really quickly. 1, 2, 3, right? So they have the different values. Anyway, for our shopkeep, I did provide you guys under the paper assets, under characters. No, it's not under characters. Where did I put them? Did I not drag them in? Oh wait, I didn't drag them in. Right. Just give me a second then. You guys would have been provided a shopkeep image. I'm just going to drag him here. Literally right click. And we're going to apply paper duty sprites settings. Go in for filter. Set it to nearest like before. Right click and go to create sprite. Open that guy up. I'm going to literally put him to 1 for his settings there. Not worried about the collision, but I am going to make sure we get the translucent, or let's see here, view wherever the material is, grab the translucent sprite material and plug that in there, right? Just like that. Now, what we're going to do then is also quickly back in here, I will also create a quick flipbook, right? Shopkeep flipbook, and I can just quickly create a folder, call it shopkeep, right? And we're just going to drag and drop him all into there. So then we can come over here to characters, and then I'm just going to off of the, no, it doesn't even need to be off the base. I'm just going to make a folder called NPCs, and we're just going to create a blueprint class, and then look for paper ZD character, right, and BP NPC, right. And then very similar, I'm going to grab its sprite, go look for shop, keep flipbook, we'll turn him to 70. That, make sure the sprite doesn't really matter for character collision. He looks fine just like that. All right. Well, that's all we really need for the NPC. We can drag and drop him there. Alright, so now that we've got the NPC, we want to get it so we have a widget to put on screen. Right, which is all the shop is, right? So what we're going to do, see here, I am going to right click, create myself a user interface widget blueprint of user widget, WBP, and then I'll just call this shop, right? Now, let's see here. I am going to give us a canvas. Let's see here, because again, this is just going to size with everything. Now, typically I could also just make it based off the content and then put it on our HUD. That would probably be better, but in our case, I'm just going to go with this. Throw a border down, put my border, make sure you're under appearance for the border itself. We're going to say border color, I'm going to put it to black, put his background to 0.5, right? I'm going to turn it from image to rounded. Technically, this is where you could put art in here instead, but I'm going to give it like a, rounded corners of like 20 pixels. And I'm going to say fixed radius. If I go to currently find my box, right, it's going to be like this, right? Now, this is where I would then, depending on how you were designing it, I'm going to start us off with a vertical box. Vertical box, right, as our content, right? Now, for our actual content, I do want our border to have a bit of padding, right? So I'm going to put it to like, and we'll just say 20 for the left and right, not 40. All right, and then I will do 10 and 10. That way, any contact inside of our vertical box works, right? And then after that, what we want is a horizontal box, right? In case we want to have buttons, right? Actually, the first one can just be text, right? So this could be, let's see here. I could do text. I'm going to, and we want to make sure we come up to border, size to content. And then in the text here, drag that to the top. Right. Technically, I would have this usually as a separate, right? But shop, and then space keep, right there, and then I can then hold Shift Enter, right? And then I'm going to give them a little bit of a default line of like, oh, hey, like you're another soul, need of care, take a look at some of my remedies since we're going to be selling health or heals, right? So something along those lines, right? And then ultimately, under the appearance, do I change the font size? You could turn it down to, 30, right? Depending on what you're doing. That's a decent size by the looks of it anyway, right? Typically, I would have like the shopkeep as a separate thing, maybe a border or something, right? A box or an image, right? That's where I would put it in the horizontal box in our case, right? Now, what I'm going to do is, we're going to then add another text box to this here, right? So, and then I'm just going to grab some quick filler text for our text box, right? And there we go. Hit enter, right? Oh, I didn't put in the text box. There we go. Try that again. Where did I put it? Oh, that's tooltip. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Horizontal box, there we go, right? But this is where we're going to then put in a button, right? So if I drag and drop the button on the horizontal box, and then also going to put text on the button, that's going to say buy, right? And then if I put the text to black, because the button's white, you could play around with the button options, but I'm going to leave the button like that, right? But I do want to name this button, right? Because this button is going to be the variable. This is going to be what we're going to use for making sure that we have, ability to buy the specific buttons, right? So what I can say here, so this is the healing, right? So you could be purchase healing or buy healing, right? Underscore BTN for button, right? Now, after that, right, I then can duplicate this box, right, and then I can say this, instead of buy healing button, is the increase or by just looking at my notes here. Yeah, no, we're gonna say by increase health, right? So by increase health, right? And then I'm just gonna say btn t, and I need to make that a variable as well. Make sure I came up here and turned this one to a variable. I then also need to make sure I replace the text there. Right now, typically I would probably make it so that, you know, we had a couple text boxes in here, one that we could actually manually set in code, but in our case, we're just going to hard code it for this current time. Right, and then I'm going to click the word fill, so that way it pushes the button all the way to the cross for this text. In fact, I can also do it for this one as well, just to make sure that we've got that. Right, and then I might even, you know, click on our button here, give it a padding on the left side of 10, right? And then I'll do the same for this button down here. That way, they both have it, right? You know, increase your vitality permanently, you know, for 25 gems, give or take, right? Now, last but least, we do need to actually set the actual anchor point of where we're going to actually set this, right? So I'm going to hold down the Control and Shift, right, which will actually align and set the pivot points where I want it, right? So you can see 0.51, so the actual pivot point of my actual object is in the middle here, right? And then if I wanted to, I can now go negative, roughly, I'm going to say negative 200, just to put it right smack dab in the middle for us, right? Nice little simple, little bit of text stuff here, right? So we've got, you know, canvas, so that way we can resize with it, a border that we've anchored to the bottom of the screen. We've also made sure that we've turned on size to content, vertical box that contains just a text, you know, saying, hey, it's the shopkeep, you know, and then his one line, and then he gives you a couple other lines of what he's selling, right? With a buy button in each of the horizontal boxes that represent, you know, what they are. You could technically make this its own widget by itself, right? This single line, and then have this populate by code, you know, depending on the stock and stuff, by a data table or things like that. And then the gem prices would update with that data table, so forth elsewhere, things like that. Now that we've got our two variable buttons, we can hop over here. And well, we don't want to do too much coding inside this blueprint. We just want to grab our button on the on-click event for both of these. We need to create what's called a event dispatcher. That way our NPC can subscribe to them, right? So I'm going to grab, oops, not a variable, sorry. And I'm going to hit the event dispatcher, and I'm going to be on purchase heal as well as on purchase max health, right? Just like that. And then I can left click and drag and say call this thing, right? Now I want to make sure increase health is the one I do on purchase max health. I then want to drag in the call function as well of the purchase heal, right? That way we now have that all set up, right? So with that set up, we can now go over and actually go into the NPC and start getting the logic in a way set up. Well, almost. We do need to actually get it so the player can actually interact with the shopkeep. But we actually go to our event begin play, right? So event begin play, I'm not worried about tick or on overlap. What I'm looking at for is begin play here because we want to create the widget. We're only going to do it once on begin play, WBP shop, right? Now, I am going to right click on this output return value to promote it to a variable. Call this the shop reference, shop ref, right? And what we're going to do is then set visibility. We're going to set it to hidden, right? That way it's not visible to the player at all, right? Then we can then add to viewport, right? And then I'm tidy up the graph by adding a couple reroute nodes. I'll hit Q to there, just like that. Yep. Now, this is where we want to create a, basically we want to bind our buttons to the on-clicked versions, right? Now to do that, what I'm going to do is, let's see here. All right, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two custom events. Custom events. This will be the on purchase max health. Right, so I'm just going to paste that in there. Then I am going to grab this one here, another custom event, and this will be on purchase heal, right? Now, the reason why I did those there is because we want to drag this one down this way. Reroute, add a reroute node. There we go. We can drag off of that and say on purchase heal, right? We want to bind an event to it, right? And then I want to do the same thing over here. We want to again bind on purchase max health, and then I will add another point here just to make it nice and easy, right? Actually, there we go. Right, dragging off the event, I'm going to look for create event, and I am going to search for our on purchase heal. Make sure that's to the heal one. I'll put that underneath it, right? And then I'll do the same thing here. Create event, and then we can do on, look for on purchase max health. There we go, right? All right, this is setting up the shop. Setting up the shop, right? So now that we've set up the shop, we need to actually have a way to make it visible for the player. So I'm going to make a function called open shop. Open shop. Now, before we get too far, we actually want to get a interface function to be able to communicate between the player and the NPC, right? So we're going to go to our blueprints folders, interfaces, right? We have the BPI damageable, right? In our case, I want to make a BPI interactable, right? So just let me grab this, right? So what I'm going to do is right click, go to blueprints, not the blueprint class, but just blueprints, look for interface. We're going to say BPI underscore interact, right? Go back here and make that a capital I. There we go. Right, and then we open it up and we want to have an interact function. Interact function, right? I'm going to compile, and then I want a input for this to be of type actor, because we want to pass in the interacting actor, right? BPI interacting, or not BPI. We want actor of object reference, right? And this could be the interacting actor. Interacting actor, right? Now, while we're here, right, we can we don't need to worry about passing too much through, but we are going to also make another interface. Now, this other interface is going to be for the player, right? So blueprints, interfaces, BPI, and this will be player data, right? Because this is going to be what controls the player data. That way we can use that actor reference, right? Now, I'm going to start with a one that literally just gets called to decrease the gem value. It's going to take in a integer, right? And then decrease integer. So, you know, this would be cost amount. Right, cost amount, right? Since that's usually what we're doing, right? We can also add a new function, say, and we'll say get current gem value. Right, so I'm just going to copy that, paste that there. Now, I'm going to temporarily turn off my key click since it's in the way. Actually, I made that way too big. Maybe, there we go. That's better. There. All right, so we've got the current value there. Then this guy is going to actually need a output, right? So we want to add a plus, and then this will be current gem, current gems, right? That way we can get there. Then we also want to add another function. This is get health comp, right? And then obviously we need to pass in. Oh, right. We don't want an input. We want to have an output because we want to pass in the BPC health component object reference, right? We'll say health comp, right, for short. Health comp for short. And then we also want one other function called increase health. Right. Now this increase health, I'm not going to worry about adding anything to it. These are all functions that we'll be calling on the NPC. So we need to put this interface on the player, right? So these are all functionalities that we'll want to do on the player. Now, before we get too far, let's actually also make the input functions, right? So we go into our actions. I do a new input action, right? IA underscore interact, right? It can stay as type Boolean because it's a true or false value, right? We go up here to the IMC base controls or whatever you called it. We click this plus, we do IA interact, open it up. I'm going to set mine as E for interact, right? So since we can use this for like interacting with signs and reading things like that, right? Or dialogue eventually or other things like that, right? Now that we've got that set up and saved, we can go to the player character. I'm going to go to settings, because class settings, because we want to add our BPI, and then we want player data. Right? Now, you'll see now we have an interface section here. Yellow ones are, if we go to the event graph, right? This is where we would put them, right? So let's see here. I just need to get my example one as well. Go event graph. All right, so what we're going to do now is increase health. Now what I did was literally actually going to increase health. So we're going to need to have increase max health function, right? Now we can actually promote it to a variable after we make it, so we'll do it here. Actually, let's get the interaction so we can see the shop first. Let's see here. So I'm going to yeah, let's get the shop visible for this part, right? So I would do IA underscore interact, right? Event. Right, and then we want to do off of started. I like to do a sphere trace sphere by trace by channel, right? Now I like to also go to our project settings, so edit project settings, right? What I'm going to do is go to collisions, and I'm going to add in a new trace channel called interact and set it to ignore by default. Or interactable, right? And then I'll hit accept. Right, so that's a new collision trace channel. And I hop back to the hero, I hit compile, so that way I can see it now in here. Right? I'm going to hard code this to 200. I'm going to set the debug for duration so we have a way to see it. And I'm going to get the actor location so that way we can have a start and end point. Very simple trace, break for this, right? And then I'm going to grab a branch. So I hold down B and left click, and then we check if the hit actor does implement interface of BPI interact, right? If it does, well, we just want to call the interact function that we literally just made on the interface. Interact, right? Interact message, right? And then, well, for the interacting actor, we just need to pass in a reference to self. Self. Right? So now that we've got that going, right? And then I'm going to do quickly the get health comp, right? Literally, you just need to find your health component in the list here, drag and drop that in here, so that's faster, right? Get current gem value. Well, that's also very simple. You just drag that in there, right? Just like that. Now, in the event graph, right, this is where I'm going to have these two events very close here. Right, we'll just put them over here. Interact with for the comments, right? Because again, technically I could also have signs and things like that that display you know, comments and things like that. Right? Now, decrease gem amount. Again, we can just literally take in, you know, the cost. So we get our current gem amount. We want to subtract a new amount from it. So you want to make sure this goes in the second pin, right? And then we just want to make sure that we set the value, right? Now, you could also, at this point, do the min, right, to make sure that we, you know, cap it at 0, right, so that you can't go in negative numbers. But you're also going to want to do that when you choose, right, whether the player can buy something eventually. Now, to increase the max health, well, I'm just going to literally bring in our health component. Right, we need to get the character data. Oop. Get character data. And what I want to do is I'm just going to split the pin by right clicking, max health. We're just going to plus it. Oh, right. That's why I did it that way. I'm going to recombine pin. We're going to say get or break structure. Grab our max health. We're going to, and then we're only going to increase it by 1. Right? We can hide any unused pins. The reason why I did it this way instead of breaking the pin is because now I can drag off here and say set set member from S character data, and I just want to say max health, right? I want to then make sure that we do this, right? Plug that in, right? This way we have that there. Now, this is where we also need to go back into our main HUD. We also need to go from here and say break, right? Because then we also want to make sure that we can go WBP health box. Now, I am going to call the init again, init art pieces, right? The reason why I'm doing the init again is because it has the max health. Now, that also means we probably need to go back and reconfigure it so that way just a little fix to the max health. But we're also going to call off of here the get healed so that way no oh right, it's literally right there. Heal amount, so BP health component, get your character data. We're adding max health, we're increasing it, and then initializing the health pieces again. Now, because we already have the health widget or health boxes doing a loop here, right? We need the heart box again, right? Anytime, just so that way we can clear children, right? Anytime you want to reinitialize it, right? So before we go through the whole looping process, again, we want to clear its previous children, right? Otherwise, you're going to have weird and wonky overlapping health hearts. So that's why we're clearing the children there, right? And then this is all going to stay the same. And that's it. And we can now close the health box. We can also compile and save the player, as well as the player data and the interact. Now it's back on into the NPC. Right. So, where is my Event begin play. Yeah, okay. We do need to come up here to the capsule. We want to come over here, change his collision to custom, open up the preset, and set the interactable to block. Right. Next, we also want to go to the class settings and add the BPI interact. That way we can then double click on the interact interface to get the interact, right? Now, off of here, we want to promote this to their interacting actor ref, right, for short. And get rid of them there, right? And then we're going to want to call open shop, which is now what we're going to do, right? So, in the open shop, well, we want to check first, obviously, if this guy is valid, right? Convert to validated get, right? If he is valid, right? I am going to make a boolean called is shop open, right? Open. And we're going to drag this version and get the get version. I'm going to drag off of here, tap B to branch, right? So ultimately, it's going to change whether we do something, right? Then I've got my widget blueprint, right? That we've set there. Oh, right. It's not the interactable actor. It's this version that I want to convert to validated get, right? Because if we don't have a widget, you can't do anything, right? Right. My bad. We're going to get this. We're going to set visibility. I'm going to do the false functionality first. So we're going to set it to visible. We're going to then go to set this. We're going to set it to true. All right. Then we're going to get player controller, because we need to drag off of this and we need to set input mode to game and UI. We can even technically drag that shop reference into the widget to focus. That way it focuses on the shop widget, right? Then we also want to say show mouse cursor or set mouse cursor, right? Set that to true. I'm going to drag that down there like that. Make it look nice and clean. Now, what I need to do is create a function that's going to also check the player's funds, right? Right. Now, this is going to check if our interactor is a valid, right? Because we're getting the data from our interacting actor, right? This is where we can then say get current get current gem value message, right? Now, this is where we're also going to use our shop reference, right? We're going to say get heal button, right? Because we want to basically check if the player has greater or equal to, and then, well, in our case, the heal value was 5, so I can set it and then promote that to there. We'll call this heal value, right? So that way it'll heal the player, right? And then we want to say set enable, set enabled, right? So this is going to set whether you can click or not click the button, right? So, now, this is where I then also check using this same variable if it is, again, greater or equal to 25, right? And then we promote that to a variable, right? Increase or increase max health value, right? And then we'll just grab this here. We're going to set or get the max for purchase buy increased health button. There we go. That's what I called it this time. Right, and we want to set its enable or set enabled, right, based off of this now. This is also where I like to call an and really quickly, right? Because I like to also include, right, if, we can say off of here, get our reference here, right? I could say get health component, right? The reason why I want to get his health component actually is because I want to get the current max health, right? I can drag this out here, get character data, right? And then we just split this. And well, I want to see if it is greater or equal to. And well, if I want my max to be 10 hearts, I would set it to like 9, right? Greater than or equal there, right? So this way, we're checking, hey, you can only get up to, 10 hearts, right? Up to you if you want to add that in, right? But with that, this is our, check our players' gems. So inside the open, well, this is where we want to check players' funds and choose whether those buttons are enabled or not, right? That brings me to the closed version, right? Well, I'm going to duplicate these guys. We're going to set to hidden again, turn off this, grab the player controller, set input to game only, right? And then we're going to also show the mouse to set show mouse cursor to off. There we go. So that brings us back to the event graph, open shop. In fact, we can actually go play and test this now, right? If I walk up here, I hit E, it shows it, they're grayed out. Then if I hit E again, it turns it off, right? Then now, if I come over here, the buttons are visible, right? And well, currently I don't have any functionality, but we will eventually get there. Right? Now, back on our NPC, right? Now, on purchase, let's see here. Well, since we already have the on purchase, max health one is a lot easier, so we'll do that one really quickly first, right? We're going to get our interacting actor. We're going to call decrease or decrease gem value message, right? And then this is going to be obviously we're the cost of the max health, right? Then again, off of the interacting actor, we're going to then call the increase health message. And then afterwards, right, it's always good to, again, check the player's funds so it updates the buttons, right? So that is that one, right? And then for the purchasing, right, I am going to literally grab the interacting actor. Also going to grab the decreased in there, plug these guys in, and then we're going to increase the heal amount, or no, not that one. Sorry, heal value. Right. Then this is where I'm going to then say, hey, get health component. And then off of here, right, we want to literally just say get character data, right? So that way you can then split that pin, get access to the current health, but we also mainly want the max health. But off of the blue pin, you're going to call the increase health function there, which is literally just going to increase it to max, right? And then obviously we check the player's funds again, just like that. Right. Let's see here. You know what? I think I need to call heal. No. Health component. Let's see here. But that is a good testing point. Then back on the hero. Let's see here. Just want to see get healed. Right. I see. Shoot. I need. I didn't think that one through. But now that I think about it, I should go back to the interface really quickly. And we are going to go get player data. We're just going to say add function. We're going to say heal player, right? And then we can just bring in a integer for health, or the heal amount, right? Heal amount, just like that, right? And then we go back to the NBC. We just call off of here, heal player message, except for it wasn't supposed to be an int, it's supposed to be a float. My bad. File and save. NPC. Then I just delete this one. Right. And then back on the player, we just have to do one last little update, which is literally over here, open up the interfaces, heal player, and you just call get healed. This way it'll update your interface as well. That's better. And that is going to do a quick test. Right, I'm going to there. Right, I'm going to talk to Bob here. I'm going to buy. Why is that not working now? Purchase. that. Check again. Let's see here. All right. So, what we were looking for first is we want to make sure that we also, what we were doing is we're technically setting our gems to 0, which is where the bug was coming from. So instead of min, we want max. Max, right? That way, you know, it caps, you know, and then any negative numbers won't set there. And then we also need to make sure that we update the gem value from our HUD. So if we go to the add here, I have the functionality of update gem, right? So I'm just going to quickly show you again. So it just there. This is inside the designer of the gem widget itself, right? And then inside our actual HUD is where we call that, right? So I'm just going to pop back into hero. We're going to copy this guy, right? So HUD, and then it was just gem bag or whatever we called it there in the HUD, right? Then if we go back to our event graph, I paste this here. This will then allow us to update our current gem count as well. All right, so if I now hit play, 1, 2, 3, I'll grab all of these, right? Enough gems to get me all the way up there, right? And then if I go take damage, I don't want to trigger him. I'm just going to walk into him. Oh, make me a liar. There we go. All right, and then we talk to him. I heal myself. Hit E. Now, we do have a bit of a problem though. When I hit E, I can still walk around, and then that, right? So we do want to actually go into our hero still. We look for the interact. We're going to make a boolean that is literally is interacting with something, right? Because it doesn't really matter what it is. We're going to set it twice off of here, but we're just going to use a flip-flop. Flip-flop. First time, obviously we want to enable it. Second time, we want to disable it. And then under the can act, we just want to add another pin. And we want to make sure that the can interact, or basically is interacting with something, is not Boolean as well. And then we're just going to plug that in there. And that should hopefully do it. Right. I can't move. I hit E again, and it turns it off. Just like that. All right. Perfect. And that should hopefully be all of our glitches that we have from there. And then we just have a last one for tidying it up and handing in.